Well, welcome to our 8th weekly briefing on Operation Sovereign Borders. As usual, I'll ask Commander Campbell to update you on key activity during the past reporting period, and I will begin as usual with some opening remarks. Last week I stated that under Operation Sovereign Borders we are finally getting the upper hand over the people smugglers, and today we can report that that trend continues. Not only are illegal maritime arrivals significantly down on the levels experienced under the previous government, but our disruption efforts, undertaken in close cooperation with our regional partners, continue and are outstripping arrivals to Australia. This is being supported by our government's increased focus on returns as part of Operation Sovereign Borders. 79 of 79 recent Sri Lankan illegal arrivals were screened out by the government, and 73 have been removed, with the balance also soon to be departing. Under the same screening process, just around 1 in 6 Sri Lankan arrivals were returned under the previous government this year. A further 77 voluntary returns of IMAs have been achieved from Manus Island and Nauru, and further returns are in the pipeline. There has also been an increase in the number of potential illegal entrants to Australia resident in Indonesia who are also choosing to return. In recent weeks, we have been stepping up our cooperation and support for the work of the IOM in all of these locations, and this is critical to a successful return policy, as was previously practiced by the Howard government. What this means is that under Operation Sovereign Borders, the odds for the people smugglers and their business is getting worse every single day. As always, we will remain on high alert, especially as we are now in the pre-monsoon period. That is traditionally one of the busiest, and as we move into December, it is also the most dangerous time of year for people to get on boats. This week, Commander Campbell and I travelled to Christmas Island to assess the status of our operations there. This follows my earlier visits to both Manus Island and Nauru, where Commander Campbell will also travel in the weeks ahead. I've been visiting Christmas Island now for several years. I have a keen understanding of the background to many of the challenges that present there and the incidents that have taken place there in the past. I was very pleased to see that there has been a significant improvement in the operational performance of Christmas Island, particularly in relation to the handling of security matters in those facilities. Commander Campbell and I were taken through the transfer procedure in place to implement the new government's rapid transfer policy, and we received good feedback on its implementation from those involved in its implementation. I remain more than satisfied about the way our rapid transfer policy is being implemented. I want to commend all those involved in what can be a very high tempo activity at times in difficult circumstances to complete this transfer process in such a professional, safe and effective manner. So to our Customs and Border Protection officers on Christmas Island, to our immigration officials, to our health services contracting staff at OHMS, and of course our centre operator Serco, you are doing an excellent job in managing a difficult task. Operations on Christmas Island are also being assisted by the government's success in reducing the detention population on Christmas Island. At the commencement of Operation Sovereign Borders, there were 2,592 IMAs on the island. Today that number is 2,158 detainees. I'm also pleased to report that all detainees are accommodated now on CI in permanent facilities. There is no current requirement for tenanted accommodation on CI, except in the potential circumstance of overnight accommodation for a recent arrival and transfer process. I want to stress that all those on Christmas Island who are now those who arrived after July 19 will be going to Nauru or Manus Island. There will be no exceptions. Whether you're Syrian, Iranian, single, married, adult, child, they will all be going to Nauru or Manus Island and will not return to live in Australia. These transfers will take place once further progress on processing is achieved on both Nauru and Manus, which I have been advised it has now commenced at a very preliminary level, and the additional expansion works already underway are completed in the months ahead. The previous government left more than 2,000 people on Christmas Island. We are better placed to support these people on Christmas Island at the present time than offshore, and that is where they will remain until they are transferred for processing to those centres at Manus and Nauru, or they'll be processed by their respective host governments. The focus of our offshore operations remains on ensuring that anyone who does enter Australia legally by boat is sent promptly to Nauru or Manus Island under our last on, first off approach. Now, this requires us to run what Commander Campbell, I think, well described when we were there as the 3-island, 1 system approach. And in the weeks ahead, we will be working to better integrate operations across that network. One of the issues that will need to be managed at CI is how we continue to provide access to schooling, and I had the opportunity to meet with the local principal and teachers at the Christmas Island District High School, who gave valuable feedback about how this issue can be addressed while not impacting on the quality of education services provided to Australian residents and citizens on the island. Now, these issues are not insurmountable, and I'm sure with continued consultation that we will be able to put in place appropriate arrangements to meet all of our obligations. And I should stress that no final decisions have been taken on how that matter will be addressed. The meeting with local residents also provided the opportunity to get feedback on a range of other issues, including local infrastructure pressures and tourism impacts. And I'll be taking those matters up with the ministers responsible, Minister Truss and Minister Briggs. I was also able to allay any concerns on the island that the new government may be seeking to close down the centre. The government has no such plans, never has. Our CI operations are central to our plans for managing our detention operations well into the future, beyond when the boats are stopped and beyond the clearance of the existing post-19 July detainee population currently on the island. On one further matter, since our last briefing, I have now received a confidential report on the force protection assessment undertaken by the Joint Agency Task Force on Manus Island, and we are proceeding to implement all the recommendations of that assessment. These recommendations and their implementation will further increase the security and operational effectiveness of the facilities on Manus. Now, similar assessments are now pending for both Nauru and Christmas Island, and I expect to receive those reports in the weeks ahead. I will now hand over to Commander Campbell to provide his weekly report.
Thank you, Minister. Welcome to the Operation Sovereign Borders weekly briefing for the period 9 o'clock Friday the 1st of November until 9 o'clock this morning. For those who haven't attended previously, my comments will be confined to activities during the week ending 9 o'clock this morning relating to the offshore reception and processing of illegal maritime arrivals under the control of the Department of Immigration and Border Protection. I will not discuss current or potential future on-water operations. During the reporting period, there were no arrivals. I can confirm, however, media reporting that Australia has coordinated its efforts with Indonesian authorities in relation to a vessel that first requested assistance approximately 43 nautical miles south of Java in Indonesia's search and rescue region. I'm advised that all people have been accounted for, and in line with standard practice, I will not comment further on this or any other on-water issues. While numbers are down since Operation Sovereign Borders commenced, I would note that the reduction in boat arrivals is not due to poor weather. That said, in regard to the long term, it is early days and much remains to be done to address this complex regional problem. For the reporting period, a total of 17 people were transferred to an offshore processing centre, all to Nauru. At 9 o'clock this morning, there were a total of 1,128 people on Manus, 606 people on Nauru, and 2,158 people in the Christmas Island facilities. We do continue to have sufficient offshore processing capacity to meet current and potential future requirements. For the reporting period, 10 illegal maritime arrival transferees were returned to Iran after electing to go home voluntarily, 1 from Nauru and 9 from Manus Island. Since the commencement of the operation approximately 7.5 weeks ago, a total of 77 people have voluntarily